Hi, we're already well into autumn, and I've noticed that a lot of flower farmers in the UK have stopped their season and won't start again until March next year. So, apart from a couple of months, a couple of weeks in December when there's wreath making mayhem, that's quite a reduced commercial season. Now, if you want to be able to make money out of your flowers all year long, I think a good way of doing that is by making funeral flowers and investing in funeral flowers. Now, this time of year, there's still an abundance of foliage in the garden. So I've got a large 4 module piece to make today, and I've collected my foliage from the garden. Now, luckily, this is the time for tree ivy, which I absolutely adore because it's got beautiful leaves. It has great coverage, so whatever the base is made of is covered. Plus, obviously, you've got the berries coming. So that's obviously a prime thing that I can pick. I think the thing about doing funeral flowers is, particularly if you want like a garden gathered style, you want to have a great mix of foliage. So this will be a key element that I've got. I've also got some much larger leaves of like laurel and petunia, like this, which I think are all really good to put at the bottom so it covers the base. But then we've got much more interesting stuff, like I've got some variegated euonymus and variegated privet. And I've also got some beautiful panicum and got some mint and some rosemary. Always like to include rosemary as it's the plant of remembrance. The key about doing funeral flowers is to cover everything so that everything looks good without any flowers added to it. So I would imagine that anybody, any time of the year, could go out onto their field, into their garden, and cut a really good mix of foliage. I think you have to think about it as if you were doing a wreath for Christmas. You don't need really long stems, you just need a variety of colours and textures and whatever. So once you've got your base made, it needs to look beautiful and variegated and mixed with colours and shades and textures of foliage. Now, I think it's pretty obvious what my colour palette is for today. My colour palette is burgundy and orange. Now, I still have loads of dahlias left, and I'm going to keep cutting them for as long as I can. That will primarily be my colour palette. I also have a few other bits and pieces to add a bit of variety. Rudbeckia, Tagetes. I do grow snaps. It's only the second year I've grown snaps. And I really like them, but mine never grow tall, but it doesn't matter because for funeral flowers, my arrangements don't need long stems. So that's a bonus. But clearly at some point, I will run out of flowers. At that point, I then use one of 3 British flower growers. I use Highcroft Nurseries, I use Clarence, and I use Evolve. And they always have a great selection of British flowers. Now, clearly they're not as local as I've got going out into my garden, but there's still no air miles involved, and I still think that's a much more sustainable option than going to the wholesalers and buying imported flowers. So that's what I will continue to do. This way, I think that as long as you focus on the foliage and have a big variety, you need fewer flowers, and so when you run out, you can then buy in what you need from other British flower growers. And in this way, it means that you can continue to offer flowers throughout the whole year. Now, if you want to build up a relationship with the funeral director, which is a really good idea, obviously, it's a bit difficult to then say, oh, I can supply your funeral arrangements for you, but not if it's between November and February. That's not a particularly good service that you're offering. So I think by having a mix of your own foliage and using other British flowers when you haven't got your own flowers, you can actually get an income from your patch the whole year through.